Welcome to the Everyday Magic Podcast. I'm Anya Rock.
And I'm Dr. Sophia Trivena.
We've been best friends for 25 years, united by the belief that no matter what life throws at us, we can always find the magic. Join us every week as we dive into our most intimate conversations about sex, money, intuition, and building our company, Sofanya, a merger of our names and the best of us. Hi, Goddess.
Hi, Goddess. Excited to be here today.
Always.
We have a big story to share today.
We do. We're in our rose color.
Actually, yeah, very Mary Magdalene
very
feeling.
Goddess-y.
Yeah.
It's like the fall goddess vibe.
For sure. I'm wearing your daughter's dress. Let's not overlook that. You were like, here, take these size -1 dresses and see if they fit you. And I was like, okay, I don't even know why I said yes, but I did. And my intuition said to take them. One I put on and it was like a toothpick. And then this one I put on and it was like, oh.
So pretty.
I really love it. So thank her for me.
It's really through me. She did. I think I picked it for her.
Absolutely. Maybe she wasn't even part of the process at all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for my dress. You also introduced me to another incredible woman. Your daughter's an incredible young woman. This other incredible woman, we met through you, and we were at a beautiful dinner party for our mutual friend Gertrude's book launch, the Rewriting the Mother Code. And when we were at her book launch, I ended up meeting this woman, Megan, who I instantly...
DJ Megan. Shout out to DJ Megan.
Always.
Yes. She'll have a playlist just for this.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She does a monthly playlist.
What?
Yeah.
I need to get into Megan's world. How do I get into her world?
She has a Spotify playlist that she updates monthly.
Really?
She's a whole world. Yeah.
Okay. I got to get into her world.
Travels the world DJing. She's incredible.
I did know that.
Yeah.
I didn't... You know me. I don't... You talk about accessing people's worlds that have never had an interest. Mark, this moment is the moment I am interested in accessing someone's world.
Great.
Yeah. Actually, I loved accessing Gertrude's world. I loved her book, her website, her retreat in Mexico. So I just want to do more of that. And Megan's like my second. So we were at the book launch, and we were sitting in a beautiful backyard, gorgeous setting, my swimming pool, incredible decor. And Megan shared this really vulnerable story about how she decided to go nomadic and how she has lived in Chicago. And as you know, as you shared, she's a DJ. So she's got a huge following, huge community. I have an incredible best friend who we also know. They've sort of said their best friendship feels sort of like our best friendship, which is all this sweetness going on. That's what I knew about her. And then when I met her there, she shared this vulnerable story about how she'd gone nomadic and how every single story she shared about being in a new place and DJing with a lot of people and then someone coming up and giving her a really mean comment about it, or landing in a new place and trying to find all the things, like the energy signatures she was sending to me was vulnerable, like so vulnerable. And I lived in Hawaii for 10 years and barely left the island in all those years. And then one day I went to the mainland for a conference and I tried to go back and I got put in the hospital. And then I recovered from that, tried to go back, got put in the hospital for a different reason, recovered from that. So it went on a few times until I finally got the intuition I wasn't to go back. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. And then all of a sudden I started getting guided around the world for the next 7 years. And people are like, you were nomadic. And I was like, I feel like nomads get to choose where they go. I was guided around the world to very specific places for either a spiritual journey or to meet a client. And actually I get 2 more things. Do you mind if I find it from the angels? I didn't know this. I've always said those 2 things. One was to bring light to the energy grid. That's cool. And another was to have fun in ways I really designed for myself. Oh, there was some more agency in there than I knew.
Beautiful.
That's pretty nice. I did have fun. A lot of fun. Had great outfits, met great people. We're in beautiful places.
Yeah.
No, it was quite the 7 years. And it was really vulnerable. And so when she was talking and I could feel her energy, I just took her aside and I said, listening to your story, you must feel so vulnerable. And we both just got tears in our eyes. Like, it was a signature of understanding that only if you really lived it. I mean, I'm sure you felt this with like mothers or things. It just like you've had this unique thing. And I said, I just feel really called to talk to you about it if you want. She's like, I can't believe that you felt that. She's like, you're right. She never identified it herself. So we reached out to each other and it took us 3 or 4 times to try to connect, but we did. And we had our talk just a couple days ago, and it was beautiful. And I really expected to listen a lot and then kind of provide feedback or ideas for whatever she was facing. Totally wasn't that at all. She had a million questions for me. So I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'm happy to answer anything. She's like, how did you handle just landing in a new place and et cetera? And I said, it was really hard. Like before I was a few years old, I had lived in a number of places. I was separated from all my siblings, all my parents, in different permutations in many different ways with like really beautiful places and lots of trauma. And so home and being homeless was in my nervous system as a huge problem. So now that I was moving from place to place, every time I landed, a panic attack happened. She's like, oh, so that wasn't easy for you those 7 years. I'm like, no, those 7 years were an exposure to my worst nightmare with the biggest reward waiting every single day. And I would wake up into a panic attack and I would use all my tools to get through back to center, regulate myself. And the reward would be that I'd get to like walk out to the Nile or, go to that beach dance party in Thailand. Like there was incentive to get myself through it, but it was work every single day. And after a year, getting on 2 years, I was breaking down from the effort. I was doing it and I was learning so much about tools, et cetera, but I was really falling apart with it. And she's like, she's, I think, months or years into it. Like she's around the year mark, but
6 months.
Yeah, something like it feels like 6 months to a year. That feels right. And she's like, yeah, it's already wearing on me. Like people don't realize how much transaction there is between these things and all that comes up for you and being exposed. And I said, I fully agree with all of this. And she's like, and like, how did you get through it? And I said, I have to think about that because it's like some years back now. And I said, it's how Sofanya was born. It's literally how our company was born. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, I literally asked the angels, like, please help me. Like, you help me with my skincare. You help me with like how to find places that I need to go and find a client. And can you help me with this? And I thought it was going to be another technique or I'd meet a healer or something like that. I literally didn't expect that I would sit down and like I typed to the angels and they typed back to me and they said, you need to get this supplement. They named it, never thought of it. I'd heard of it, but I never knew it was a supplement. And so it was something I'd learned about in electrical engineering that I thought was a component in electronics. Like, and I was like, this isn't even something you can eat. Like, I don't even understand. And they said, no, it actually is concentrated as a mineral in the leaves of plants. And they said, take this dose, 20 milligrams. And I was like, there's no way. And I looked it up and everything they said was true. It is a mineral that gets concentrated in the leaves of plants and it can be extracted. And they said, one day you're going to make a supplement with this. And one day it would be nice if you went to factories that are already cutting off the skins of, fruits to, put them in cans and get those skins and turn them into supplements one day. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'll try it. But they didn't even sell it where I was in Portugal. So I had to have a friend in San Francisco buy it in the US and send it to me. And it was exactly 20 milligram supplement. And I was like, okay. And I took it and within, I think the first night I felt something, within 3 days, there was such relief. And in a week I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I went and did the research. I was like, are there any studies on this? And amazingly, there were tons of studies on it because it's naturally occurring mineral in drinking water. And they did my favorite thing, meta studies, where they take all the studies that have been done that are similar and lump them together to see what's common across all of them, which I really like. And in the meta studies, especially in Japan, for example, it's all in the drinking water. But sometimes it would be 2 or 3 milligrams, sometimes up to 10 or 12 milligrams. And they measured mental health outcomes for the community, the region. They looked at depression, gun wounds, suicides, things like that. So the more of this element, the less incidences of mental health cases or malaise in the population. And so I was like, this is actually safe. It's in drinking water. There's tons of studies on it. And so I continued with it. And then I got another ingredient and another ingredient, and it kept going like that. And it was probably every few weeks to few months I would get it. And it was maybe over a year and a half, 2 years that I got this full protocol of a collective of supplements to take in the morning and supplements to take in the evening. And they just kept solving the things.
And what was it solving? Like,
oh, beautiful question. I'm like getting choked up about it because it was really vulnerable to be traveling like that and to have your nervous system just acclimating to being alone in the world over and over. And
give us an example of you're a single woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like really paint the picture for us, like landing in where and what's coming at you and like what are the things, what is the vulnerability?
Sure. I met a woman in where did we meet up? Okay, we met somewhere and then she messaged me and she's like, "Oh, I see that you're over in this part of the country. I'm going to a retreat in Egypt. Why don't you meet me there?" And I said, "Oh, that sounds what I felt in. I'm supposed to go."
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, "Let's make the plan for when we're going to land." So we made that plan and then she messaged me and she's like, "Oh, I can't come until 2 days later, but I have a dear friend who's really prominent in the Egyptian community. He owns a ton of businesses, etc. He has an apartment for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get there, just take an Uber to the apartment. Here's the address." Sounds harmless, right? And he was an owner of a co-working center and I had been an owner of a co-working center.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me what it was and I looked it up and it was legit and I saw his face and he looked legit. So everything seemed good, right? And my system said go. So my flight gets delayed. I end up landing in Cairo at midnight, not what I wanted to do, land in the middle of the night in the dark. And I look at the phone and I hope Uber works. She had said to take an Uber. Thank God it does. And interestingly, to go a 40-minute drive is like 93 cents. It was crazy weird. And I'm like, that's awesome. But when I walk outside, it's dust. It's a dust storm. Like I watch it happen as we're landing. It's a clear sky. And all of a sudden it starts to whip up and it gets big and big. And I see a cyclone literally outside the airport. And I come out and people are all acting like this is not normal. And I'm like, there's no way that this is just happening when I arrive. And when I finally get in the Uber, I walk through the dust storm and everyone's covering themselves, etc. And I can't really see, but I get in and I'm like getting in with a strange person in this country in the middle of the night in a dust storm where you can't see outside the window. Like he could turn and do anything and someone could be a foot away and not see it. And I said, "Do you speak English?" He's like, "Very little." And I said, "What's happening?" He said, "A dust storm." And I said, "Oh, it must happen often." He said, "It hasn't in 10 years. And I'm like, so the time I'm landing is the first dust storm in 10 years. So he drives me the hour into Cairo. He drops me off and he said, "There's your door." And it's like, there was like an inlet. So there's the street and then you have to walk back into a courtyard, into a dark courtyard that's not lit with there's like a door in the dark corner. I like, no.
Where's the key?
So the only instruction was to like knock on the door. So I knock on the door opens, a man is standing in a burlap sort of robe with like a cutout hole and a rope around his waist and bare feet, a big man that doesn't speak English and he holds up a lit lantern. Like I feel like it's like 1,000 years ago. And I'm like, and he's like, "Come in." And I'm like, and the door looks like a dungeon. And I was like, and I back out and I shut the door and I'm standing in the middle of the street and there's no one around and my phone doesn't work there. And I'm like, oh my, what are my choices here? And I literally just have to get clear. And I'm like, clear. My nervous system is firing in every single cylinder. This is a very extreme example, but yeah. And I'm like, I have to get clear so I can get guidance. And I somehow did it. Like, and I had to do this a lot. I was thrown into a lot of circumstances where I had to use intuition to get out of it, to use it. And when I finally got clear, I was like, what is the thing that has me wake up tomorrow happy I made this choice? And I literally saw me knock on the door again. I'm like, and I was trembling and I knock on the door again and he opens the door and I step in and I'm trusting guidance and he points at stairs. I walk up the stairs. I open the door into the apartment and the apartment is covered in an inch of dust everywhere because the windows were left open because this doesn't happen. So I had to like dust off everything, find a sheet to put over it, sleep on the couch, like just whatever. I ended up meeting the owner of the apartment who is to this day one of the loveliest humans I've ever met that showed me all around Cairo, introduced me to the most wonderful people, owned a huge co-working center for entrepreneurs that are working with street kids to like make products to get them off the streets, like beautiful everything, but that entryway, right? So that's like an extreme. And in the other end of things, I would be guided to somewhere like Mallorca. And it would be fall and it would be low season. I would be there entirely almost by myself, but I would feel energy that I didn't understand from the land or for the people. So then I'd have to learn to clear the space that I don't even know what was happening there. And now what the angels just told me, I was probably clearing the grid lines or whatever they're saying. But I would just be like, I could feel ancient slavery, like, I'd just be like, oh my gosh. And I'd have to like fill myself with white light and love, fill my room and work on that, then fill the whole space, then fill the whole town until I could actually go out and enjoy the town. And so that was good. And I figured out how to do that over and over and over. And then I was like, oh, what if I could do this before I get there? Maybe on the taxi over, I can clear the space so when I arrive, I'm not dealing with it. Then I started to learn to do that. Then I was like, what about when I'm on the airplane? Can I clear the whole island? And I learned to do it. Then I was like, as soon as I know I'm going somewhere, can I do it? So that was years of just, iterating. But otherwise, if I didn't get really clear before, I'd get slammed and have to get myself energetically out of it. I was learning to be sort of an energetic ninja that could make sure everything was energetically safe. So my nervous system was going through it. And then in this Majorca example, there would be just waking up and there's no one around. Like I'm just by myself and I would have alone panic attacks. Just from being alone, just childhood memories. What if something happened to me? No one would know. I didn't do this on a big budget. I would often, I told Megan this, I'm like, I'd often land in places and I'd have $0, zero. Like I would land in Italy and I would have an address to go to and I would get there and it's 10 a.m., but I wouldn't have $1, zero in my bank account. And I would be like, if I was guided here, something's going to happen. And I'd walk down the street and someone would say, we're closing they close for the afternoon. We're closing as a pizza. Anyone want a pizza? And I would take the pizza and I'd be like, I'm standing in this only if I have $0 in the bank and someone hands it to me in Italy. You know that you can eat pizza in Italy and not gain a pound.
Totally. And drink all the wine and not feel terrible.
Not feel anything. So then I'd be standing there with this pizza and I'm like, okay, the pizza came, something else is going to come. And then someone would be driving by and they'd be like, oh, you're in this part of town and everything's closed. Do you know that there's a whole beach, area down there and there's picnic tables you can, and I was like, okay. So I'd go and I just would follow the flow. And I mean, I was handling the unknown with, you know what it feels like to not know where food's coming from, to not know where sleep is coming. Like when that happens, your whole nervous system is aflame. So there was just the being alone trauma of isolation and where am I and what am I supposed to be doing here? I called you a number of times on these moments. And then there was the really scary situations that were like, whoa, but I had to get it under control to make the right action. And then there was just having to trust the flow, even though my system is signaling me, you need food and shelter. And to trust in the most extreme circumstances. So I was explaining this all to Megan, and she's like, so what happened? How did you do this? And I said, I got a lot of mastery on my own, but there was a point, I'm going to say 2 years in, where I was like, I think I've gone as far as I can go. Like I was begging the angels for something, and this is when the supplements started to come. And so I instantly noticed that I'd wake up and I would be more like, instead of waking up to where am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Do I have food? Do I have money for rent tonight? Like the instant things, I would just wake up and be like, oh my gosh, the light is so pretty in here. And I was like, that's new. That's new. That's new. And that's good. More of that. That's good. So it was just this gentleness of life experience. And then when something would happen, like all the things that could possibly happen, I would be coming back to a place I had rented, and the person would come out and say, we're not renting anymore. Our family's closing this. We're having a family emergency. And I'd be like, oh, okay, it's 10. Where am I supposed to go? Like those types of things. I would just go, okay. I used to have to do 5 minutes to an hour of work to get regulated and centered so I could use intuition to find out the next step, because that's all I had. I was at the mercy of miracles. There was no map or friend or anything that could tell me. No one could tell me. Only intuition could tell me my next step for 7 years. And so that went from taking an hour to 20 minutes to 5 minutes to, oh, I'm not coming here. I wonder where I'm supposed to be. Oh, I'm supposed to be here. And just, I'd walk around the corner and someone would be like, oh, they kicked you out. We're not friends with them. Come have our penthouse for free. Like that kind of thing would happen, right? And it wasn't just the time, because I'd kind of been doing that for a while and it wasn't getting better. It was the supplements. And I basically started doing them, and it was mostly the morning ones, the daytime ones, to calm my nerves during the day. And that's why I feel like the name came to me for our AM formula, Nerve Tonic, and my nerves settle, and I started to just flow and be like, someone yells at me, it's fine. If I have nothing in the bank account, can't wait to see what happens next. Or like, if that pivot happens, ooh, something really juicy might be happening if that's shutting down. Like I could go there really quickly. And it was, really settling in terms of inner peace. Like if I were to say anything I got, it would be the racing mind went away, the ruminating mind, the fearful jumps, the reactionary, okay, I got to calm myself so I can get there. And while someone would be talking to me, I wouldn't be in the back of my mind going, oh, what am I going to do with this information? What am I going to say to them? Oh, that's interesting. I would just be like listening. There's nothing, and what they'd say would penetrate me. And when they were done, then I just instantly knew what to do with it. I was like, this is a whole new reality. One I had never had, never, ever, ever had in my entire life. Not through school, not when I was younger, not anything. And so that was the AM one. And then I got guided to go to the north of California. I had a bunch of clients in that area actually, and I was visiting them. And then COVID hit, and I've told that story. I ended up being there for COVID. And I was meeting every day with 4 other women where we would spend hours going into intuition, communing with the angels. What else were we doing, right? We're in COVID, so we're doing it online with each other. And I think eventually I ended up mentioning to them that I was, using these supplements because they were all going through this, the ruminating mind, the worrying about COVID, worrying about their kids, all of the things. And I saw in them how I had been living my whole life until a few years ago when I started all the supplements. And I was giving them the tools and techniques. And then one day I mentioned, and then it really helped when I started the supplements. They're like, what are you talking about? And they instantly were like, give us the list. And I gave it to them and they all went on it. And I said, well, if you guys are all going to do this during COVID and you're 4 different women of different ages with different children and background and all of the things, this is science as much as I can get my hands on right now, and I'll take it. And I said, I knew that there was a gold standard brain test called the Converge test that you do 40 minutes worth of exercises. There's 12 little exercises you do. And each one tells you how an area of your brain is functioning compared to the rest of the population. So anyways, I go and do the test for myself and I get the other 4 women to do it. And we all do a baseline. And it's interesting because you can see from the areas that they've developed or not developed, whether they have ADHD. And I found out one had, I said, you look like you have ADHD. And she's like, I do. And et cetera. So we figured that stuff out. That was cool. And I always say I'm not very good at spelling. And I was really low, like a 20 percentile ability to spell or learn a language. And I was highest and almost like 80% at being able to rationally reason through things and put a complex sequence of things in to make something happen. So I was like, cool, that's interesting. Kind of proves my strengths and my weaknesses. And so then we all started to do the supplements. And I asked the angels, is the supplement protocol complete? And they said no. And then they gave me the PM formula. And they said, the evening one to do before you go to bed. And that whole thing, we started them both at the same time. So I said, here's the ones to do to AM. These are the ones to do at PM. What I didn't expect was that the PM one would make you basically go to sleep sooner and stay asleep all night and wake up feeling amazing. And I was like, what is this? Because all of us were struggling with sleep. And I had just long accepted that with traveling around. Everyone was in their 40s, 50s. Yeah, all the women were. And everyone had their different sleep issues.
I think everyone.
Waking up in the middle of the night, all of us, right? And then, so I was like, what is having us go to sleep and get up? And we weren't so worried about drowsy because it was COVID. And I'm like, but I don't feel drowsy. Like, I don't feel drugged. I don't feel depleted. And then the woman started coming forward over 4 weeks or later or something. And they said, I got blood work done and I don't need to be on hormone therapy anymore. My hormones have sorted out. One woman had cancer. She's like, ever since I had cancer a few years ago, my hair's never grown in. All my hair is growing in. All these like side effects started happening. Wrinkles started reversing. Everyone was coming forward and saying things like, I remembered my entire credit card number. Like an entire credit card number. And then 2 women in the same day said, I've never felt so relaxed. I sat in my garden rather than garden. Like I've never actually sat there and enjoyed it. I'm always doing in it. But if I ever want to rest, I go and lie down because I'm tired, but I wasn't tired. I was alert and present and wanting to be sitting up and enjoying my garden. I've never experienced that ever. I'm either doing or collapsed from doing, not just present and enjoying. And the other woman said something similar. And then all of a sudden, at the same time, everyone's intuition opened more. Like things that they could never do before, all of a sudden, everyone was doing it at the same time. And I was like, what is happening? So I did the test again at 4 weeks and 6 weeks for everyone. There was a big leap in the 4 to 6 week window where everyone had 5 areas of their brain go up 30 to 50%. Right now, from taking the supplements, my brain's at the top in the world on three different areas, that one to rationally reason, the one to verbally reason, and one to block out stimulus that's not relevant and only focus on stimulus that's relevant. So like everyone had that. The ADHD person had those symptoms go away and not be categorized in that same way anymore. Anyways, I was just like, this is fascinating. And then I went, and of course, during COVID, I probably took 6 weeks and spent 8 hours a day reading studies. Like I went down the rabbit hole, as you can imagine. I just couldn't get enough of every single research study that had ever been done with each and every supplement. I made a massive spreadsheet. I put it all together. And like what ended up happening and what these AM/PM formulas are basically full system support to be in the parasympathetic nervous system. And none of them, not a single one is sedative. Not a single one is stimulant. None of it is masking what's going on. None of it's tricking the brain that there's no problem here. It's literally going to the most base support for what we need. Every single cell gets addressed. And every cell, the neurons in your brain are cells. Everything is cells. So, and if you go to the heart of a cell, it's the mitochondria. The mitochondria in a cell is determining how much energy that cell has and its age. And what happens is it collects free radicals, it starts to mutate, and it causes all the cells to actually sag. That's where we get wrinkles. That's where we get sluggish, brain fog. All of the things that we sort of don't, that don't make life fun, the racing mind, the ruminating mind, the jumping mind, the reactionary, all of that's coming from this sort of depletion. So what we have across all of these supplements in the 2 different AM/PM formulas is a full spectrum mitochondrial support. And it does it from making sure the mitochondria itself has the building block structures to be a whole physical being, like all the folds inside of it and everything are nurtured and reinforced by what we have. But then on top of that, it's the functioning of it. Then it makes sure it functions as optimally as possible. So it's making sure that it's structurally as strong as it can be, and then also working as optimally as it can be. And that's why all of these wonderful outcomes were happening. But it took the combination of what's happening in the morning and night to make the full thing happen.
Right.
It's why they work together. And then the other thing I realized is that these other really important systems were being supported. So I don't know if you know this, but gut health, we both know that's huge. You know that as more than me, even from being in the wellness industry more than I have been. But I mean, when I dove into it, like the small intestines, if you laid them out, they're the size of a tennis court, right? They're like the biggest interface.
It's like the second brain of the body.
Totally. Yeah. And so for immunity, it's like the most important thing. Yeah. So immunity, it's the immunity center. The 70% of our immunity comes from the gut. And the immunity is a whole system in itself. So if we're supporting the gut's microbiome, lining, all of that, and our supplements do all of that, it supports all the important key factors of the gut, which then is supporting immunity, the nervous system. Our supplements, there's a sheath along all of the nerves. It's making sure that is robust. And the lithium itself that we're talking about keeps everything from overfiring. And basically it's like, it has a reasonable response, not a rapid fire response. So it calms that. So the whole nervous system, including the neurons, including in the brain, is being not only built and made whole and made healthy, but then other supplements that are in there are optimizers. And I know that most people know. Do you think most people know what adaptogens are?
I think now.
Yeah. How would you explain them?
Adaptogens are like, it can be an herb, it can be a supplement, but it's adapting to what the body needs. So if it's stress, right, it's mushrooms do this, psilocybin does this, it's an adaptogen.
Right.
So it's adapting to the environment and kind of fixing, if you will, in layman's terms, what needs to be addressed.
Right. Like, because you could take let's say like we take caffeine, it's going to do one thing, jolt you, right? Or you could take a sleeping pill and it's going to do one thing, sedate you, right? And I think an adaptogen goes, oh, I have something that could be sedative or inspiring you, pumping you up, but it's going to decide what you need and give you what you need. It's a very rough version of it.
It's a non-scientific,
very non-scientific
description.
Fair,
but we get it.
Yeah. So we have an adaptogen in our formulas, but even more interesting to me is that we have a few things that aren't adaptogens because they're not actual plants, but they're amino acids that act like adaptogens at the nervous system level. And
amino acids are often the building blocks, right, for things like protein.
Yep.
We all have amino acids in our body. And why is it magical when they're working with?
Yeah. Well, these two specific ones are not the building blocks themselves. They're precursors to all of the building blocks. And they almost call it the universal helper in that when your system is in stress, it will use up a lot of these building blocks. And if that happens, this amino acid that we have will turn itself into those specific building blocks it needs to reinforce the stress response and calm it. But it might need this version or that version, and it will create the one it needs. So it's not just giving you one thing, it's giving you what you need depending on what you need it.
Right.
And it's there specifically to mostly serve the nervous system and the stress response. So it acts, to me, it doesn't say it anywhere in the literature, but I'm like, this is like an amino acid version of an adaptogen for the stress response. So it's super fascinating. And it really serves the vagus nerve functioning. And the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve of the 12 that come from the brain. It's not the longest in the body, but it's a big one. And 70% of its use is to take information from the gut up to the brain and let the brain know if you're safe. And then once the brain decides that,
so what you eat does matter for how you feel.
It does. It signals whether you're okay or not. That's why we have emotional eating.
Right.
I mean, I definitely had emotional eating, and
ice cream is telling us it's okay.
Right. The ice cream had me up in the middle of the night doing this research. Exactly what I'm talking. Yeah, it's like telling the brain, you're safe or you're not safe, basically. And you're going to the sympathetic or the parasympathetic nervous system. And then 20% of it is used to signal the heart and the lungs, whether you can be breathing slowly and keeping a low heart rate, or whether your heart and lungs are freaking out.
There's lots of studies in naturopathy and in acupuncture about the vagus nerve, right? It's a big...
Right. I think that's really widely known. I think when it came out in the 90s with the polyvagal theory, that's when it really came online that, the nervous system and its health, and especially the vagus nerve, are huge. Right. And almost all of our supplements indirectly or directly support the vagus nerve. So there's that, right? And I feel like when you put them all together, what you're doing is you're starting from the beginning of the day and getting your system primed to be in relaxed response. So there's parts of it that are, promote focus and motivation. So they're not dulling you, right? They're actually sharpening you. But when they sharpen you, they're not jittering you or overwhelming you. They're bringing you into a present, responsive, relaxed, focused place, which is like where we want to be. It's like presence and inner peace. And it's meeting life rather than like reacting to life.
Which is interesting because when we do our little, when we do our field interviews with people and we talk about, we're often in coffee shops doing business.
Oh my gosh, remember that? Yes, we are.
People will be like, are you going to work on your business?
I knew what you're going to talk about.
Remember we were asking her and we were talking about the tonics and we're talking about the nervous system. And she said, oh my gosh, I need that. Like I'm always drinking coffee.
Have we ever mentioned it to anyone that doesn't say I need it?
But interestingly, her response, you asked her more questions about why. And she said, I drink coffee and then I get jittery and I feel, this way, but I would love to feel more grounded. And if that happened, I'd feel more present.
Yeah.
It's like what we all actually crave is presence.
Yeah.
It's the ability to not be in our anxiety, in our panic, in our worrying, and just be present to the joys around us.
Yep. What people say in the research of these individual pieces that I'm talking about are things like the racingness of my mind went away. I was able to show up without coffee and get everything done quicker. I felt relaxed and restful and yet still alert and present. And it's that equivalent of an adaptogen. It's like all of these are working together to go towards a calm homeostasis, and they have the building blocks to do so, and we're supporting the pathways of the immunity, of the nerves, of the vagus nerve, of all of the neurotransmitters. It's working at the brain level and through the whole body. So I just was like, as the more and more I researched, I'm like, it would almost take divinity to come up with this formula of all these pieces, because it does the full spectrum. Again, it's kind of like the body oil. It's like a few ingredients do all the things you would need it to do. So that was really cool. And then the sleep one I got really interested in. I was like, why are we going to sleep and staying asleep if there's no sedative here? And that one took the longest to figure out, but I figured it out. I was so happy because, as you know, Eureka is the orgasm of science. I finally figured it out. And it's like combined, like they give the exact amount of amino acids that the system needs to not have to produce them while you sleep. And when your system doesn't need to produce them while you sleep, it can use its whole bandwidth to rejuvenate you. And I don't know if people realize this, but most of our rejuvenation happens while we sleep. Literally hair growth, skin cell turnover. And, you know, if you get right down to it, the mitochondria are the heart and the foundation of wellness and beauty, because it's the cellular level, right? And so the mitochondria rejuvenate overnight. And what we're doing is giving the body exactly what it needs to rejuvenate without having to do work it doesn't. It's taking the workload away. The extra load off. Right. And then the byproduct of that is sleep. Because your body's rejuvenating, it's going into sleep and staying there to do the job it's meant to do while you sleep. And when we don't have those building blocks, it has to make the building blocks before it can start to rejuvenate. And that's when you have restless sleep and you're not getting to sleep and you're waking up from sleep. So sleep was like...
You're waking up tired and you're waking up feeling not rested. I think people say that a lot. Got 8 hours, but I don't feel rested.
Totally. And I would go under and stay under and wake up and know, and I'm a big dreamer. And I was like, oh, not even dreams, like, but not groggy. And so it was interesting that it was COVID and we had all these many months to do it. And I really saw that there was a big change in the 4 to 6 weeks and then sort of kept going to 12. And I noticed with a few of the women around 8 weeks or so, their memory kind of got worse after going really, really good, like remembering your whole credit card number. And then a week or two later, it went better and jumped. And I went and researched that. And I was like, oh, interesting. It was like the way that the brain stores memory when it's been through trauma is a certain kind of dysfunctional way that ends up keeping you triggered. When that lag happened, the brain was going offline of memory so that it could switch to the healthy way of memory. And all of a sudden, when it came back online, it wasn't using that trauma way of using memory. It was using the healthy way. But in the switch, there was a bit of a memory gap of about 2 weeks where memory wasn't great. And I watched it in a few of them. I'm like, that's fascinating. But then afterwards, they're like, I'm remembering things, but like things that used to trigger me aren't triggering me anymore. I'm like, because it's not pulling from the triggered memory banks. It's pulling from the healthy memory banks of those same stimulus. So I got obsessed. It was fascinating. So that's the essence of, you know, what I know that we've created in these AM, PM tonics.
Exciting.
And I stopped taking all of them when we were going to make them because I thought we were going to have them very quickly, which we did. Actually, we did have them really quickly, the samples, but we didn't like the taste. Then we didn't like the texture. And then it ended up taking months, as we've learned it takes to make products. And then after, I think I told you, I'm like, I can't wait for them to come back. I miss how calm and present it was. I think I even said in an early episode, 75% of the days I wake up here, I'm in a panic attack just from like having to go from living on 3 figures a month, traveling the world, to 5 figures a month here in LA and being guided to do ever harder things, step into being in front of a camera, like whatever, all of the things. I would say most of the time I was having panic attacks, especially when things got really hard, and you helped me through things like this. And then I just decided, what am I waiting for? I'm just going to go get all the supplements and start taking them again. And within a couple of weeks, I was like, oh my God, why did I wait so long? And I just feel amazing. I wake up calm. nothing is lost in motivation, focus, ability to get stuff done. I just do it in a very calm, relaxed. And the first few weeks are weird because I'm like, shouldn't I be worried about this? Am I going to get this done if I'm not worried? Am I missing something? And I just kept going. Everything in my system is telling me it's fine. And it actually, the signal of my system saying it's fine was way more accurate than the system that was screaming it's not fine, that I had just taken care of by supporting it. Anyways, that's my mega rant.
Great.
It's been like an almost 8 years now, 9-year labor of love, but I wish this for everyone. You know, all my clients, all of our friends.
Well, they'll get to experience it when they use Sofanya.
Yeah. Do we know the names of what we're going to call the AM and PM? They're going to be...
Yeah. Well, there's the nerve tonic is the AM.
Are we going to call it morning?
Morning, I think morning nerve tonic.
Morning nerve tonic.
And then blissful sleep tonic.
Yep. That's it, right?
I think so.
So simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morning nerve tonic, blissful sleep tonic.
Do you feel the energy of them, the beauty of them?
I can see them. I can't wait till they're an actual thing.
Yeah.
I can imagine them and see them. And
what I love about them is they're kind of like the body oil. There's a whole bunch of things. Like, they'll give you what you need, but not what you don't need. They're building blocks to use as you need them. And if you don't need them for the thing, like if I don't need them for what you need them for, it's okay.
Right. Well, that's adaptogenic too.
Right.
In that it is two very different people are taking something, but it's supporting us in a unique way.
That's it. And it's the same with the body oil too. Like, it will do this if you need this. It'll do that if you need that. Right. Because it works that way.
Yeah.
And the combination of them in the ratios that they've been given to us by the angels works that way. So I just feel, it's almost like I'm just really going to be celebrating when people start to tell me the experience they had, because I got to do that with a handful of people. And then I think I told you I had a boyfriend in COVID that used it for the 6 months we were together, and we broke up. He went off of all of it. And then he told me a few months later, he's like, by the way, that whole thing you're doing, you're onto something. So tell me more. He was 54 at the time, maybe 52. 6'4" bicycle, Northern California, strong, construction guy, and he said everything came back that was a problem. I'm like, what? He's like, malaise, creaky joints, forlornness, brain fog, confusion, self-doubt, self-deprecating. I was like, wow. And he's like, and I went and ordered it all again. And he's like, I feel exactly as I felt before. I feel amazing, incredible, capable, on my game, positive, bright outlook. I'm like, great. So thanks for letting me go on a super
thanks for going on the journey of discovering it and creating it. And
thank you. It wasn't easy. It was hard-won insights and victories, and I'm really grateful, actually. I couldn't have done it. I'm really grateful to being guided to all of it and doing one piece at a time. I never heard of biohacking when I was doing this. I was just doing it. And then when I explained to a few people what I'd been doing for a few years, they're like, oh, that's biohacking. I'm like, really? What is that? And it's like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely doing that. But biohacking with the angels, there's nothing like it. So I feel really grateful that they gave me the right pacing so I could get to know each one intimately and have a relationship with it and understand it. And then have that COVID journey where for a year I got to watch it in a few different...
And do science.
And do science. Oh, it makes me so happy. Thanks, Goddess. This might be my favorite episode ever.
So fun to hear the story, to understand the history of the products that are coming so soon, and watch them fly out and, help other people's hearts fly open, as is always the North Star of Sofanya. And I can't wait to hear the stories flooding in of people feeling presence and joy. I
mean, if Megan tried these and she looked at me and said, oh my God, and had the results I had, and then I watched her on social media posting about how joyful and happy she was, that would be worth it all. Right? And that there'll be more like that is just the joy. We've kind of been head down doing all the things to get ready to launch. I just started to realize, there's going to be the day where we get to see people. We see the hearts fly open and hear about it and connect with those people. And that's just starting as a glimmer right now. But I think that's going to be beyond joyful, like something beyond what we can imagine.
Definitely.
Thanks, Goddess.
Thanks, Goddess. Thanks for being on the journey with us. We'd love to have you as part of the ongoing conversation. Join us on our socials at Sofanya Beauty and join our email community at sofanyabeauty.com. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.